بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم ربنا لك الحمد لأنك أنت الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم ربنا لك الحمد لأنك أنت العفو الكريم. اللهم ربنا لك الحمد لأنك تعافي السليم تشفي السقيم. اللهم ربنا لك الحمد لأنك أنت الرب العرش العظيم. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت الرب الواحد العزيز الحكيم، ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله، هبة عظيمة من لدن جواد رحيم. فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله عز وجل، وخير الهدي هدي رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا يقول الله عز وجل بعد أن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولا تيأسوا من روح الله إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. صدق الله العظيم. All praise is due to God, whose grace is continuously received. All praise is due to God, of whom true praise cannot possibly be achieved, the one whose light leaves all distress relieved, the one whose comfort renders grief bereaved, the one whose love leaves us eternally reprieved, and all peace and blessings be upon the messenger, upon whom be peace, alayhi salatu wasalam, in whom we have always believed, whose example allows true guidance received. Ma ba'd. I quoted the verse from Surah Yusuf alayhi salam, the 12th chapter of the Quran, when Jacob, upon whom be peace, sent his brothers to look for Yusuf and Binyamin and Yehuda, the oldest brother. And he said to them, لا تيأسوا من روح الله. Do not despair of the soothing mercy of God. إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. Only the ungrateful folk who reject the truth are the ones who truly despair from the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal. And I wanted to talk about one of the tricks of shaitan, one of the things that shaitan does is after somebody falls, after they succumb to their own weaknesses and fall, be it big or small, but especially a big sin, right? We talk about in the past where I talk about in sermons where there are sins and there are sins, big, huge sins. There are mistakes and huge mistakes. And our job and what the Quran exhorts us to do is to stay away from the kaba'ir al-ithmi wal-fawahish. I said it was in Surah Yasin, but I made a mistake. It was actually in Surah Al-Najm. لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. To God belongs all that is in the heavens and the earth. لِيَجْزِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا بِمَا عَمِلُوا. To punish or to recompense or to pay back those who've done evil by which they've done. لِيَجْزِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسَاءُوا بِمَا عَمِلُوا وَيَجْزِيَ الَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا بِالْحُسْنَى. And to reward those who've done beauty with beauty. بالحسنى. Who are these people? الَّذِينَ يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَالْفَوَاحِشِ إِلَّا اللَّمَمْ. Those who stay away, يَجْتَنِبُونَ, ijtinab is not just not doing it. Ijtinab is stay far away. Those who stay far away from kaba'ir al-ithm, the huge sins, wal-fawahish, and indecency, and specifically in the Quran, Allah labels zina, adultery, as fahisha, as an abomination, as an indecency. Wal-fawahish, kaba'ir al-ithm, big sins, wal-fawahish, illa al-laman, except the small stuff, inna Allah wasi'un maghfirah. God is wide in mercy. So our point is to stay away from the sins, the big sins. Allah will take care of the little sins, right? Because the little sins are impossible for a human being not to commit. It's impossible. Sin is part of the human condition. But like I said, there are sins and there are sins. They're not the same. There's not the same. There are mistakes and there are mistakes, huge mistakes. So if we وَلِعَاذُ بِاللَّهِ fall into the sins, كَبَائِرُ الْإِثْمِ وَالْفَوَاحِشِ, then shaitan comes. Now, unless you have a dead heart, if you have a dead heart and you don't care, that's a disaster. To me, that's a disaster. Say, for example, someone, and I've seen this, someone gets caught, وَلِعَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, may Allah protect us all, I seek refuge in God, cheating on his wife. Getting caught is God trying to bring you back. Because the worst thing that could happen is that God says, to hell with you, I'll see you on Judgment Day. That is a disaster. That is, and who has a dead heart and could care less, Then Allah says, فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُم. Allah is talking about the children of Israel, but the example remains. When they deviated, God pushed their deviation further. When He saw that when God sees someone could care less, and God says, well, I could care less about you, I'll see you on Judgment Day, that's a disaster. At least if he got caught, God is trying to bring him back. The human consequences are the human consequences, right? He'll get good with God. I have no worry about that. The human consequences are the human consequences. You got to live with the human consequences, right? But that's good, right? But that's good, in fact, in the larger scheme of things. Even though to that person, and I've seen it with my own eyes, it's a disaster for him. His whole life has fallen apart. Everything by his own hand. He blew up his own life. And still there is hope that Allah wants him to come back. He wants to bring him back on the path. He's not trying to destroy his life. He wants to get him good with his salvation. The salvation is what matters. What Shaitan does, and I see it, what Shaitan does will come and say, you know what, man? You're a piece of dirt. How you think God's going to forgive you? You're such a piece of dirt. Look at what you've done. This is humongous. You can never come constantly and in his mind all the time. So not only did he fell for it, right? He fell and he succumbed to it. Then he kicks him while he's down. He does that all the time. And the point is, we are not defined by our sin. Even when it's a kabira, we're not defined. It's not a proper noun. The sin is not a proper noun. The sin is a mistake, right? Even though it's a big mistake, still, we have to resist that thing, that trick of Satan. And to highlight this point, I want to recount the story of the conversion of Umar ibn Al Khattab, the second caliph. I just want us to paint a picture. Umar himself said, before Islam, I was a drunkard and a womanizer. He said to himself, I'm not saying that about him. He's one of the greatest human beings ever to live on the earth, one of the greatest statesmen the world has ever seen. There is no question about that. I want to tell you what people, his contemporaries, in the days of Jahiliyyah thought of him. He himself said, I was nothing but a drunk and a womanizer. Okay? That's what he said. And in fact, one night he was looking to go out party with his buddies. None of them were there. And he found the messenger at the Kaaba, and he was hiding behind one of the I think the cover of the Kaaba, and he heard the messenger reading Quran. And the things that he was saying in himself, the Quran answered, and he was stunned. And that began the process. But let me tell you, his contemporaries at the time. So let me tell you a story. So there's at the time of the emigration to Abyssinia, there were a woman preparing. She was going to emigrate, leave Mecca. And at the time, leaving Mecca is a humongous deal. We don't get it. We move with our job all the time. Back then, you can't just get up and move and leave your tribe. You can't just walk into another place and just, I like Abyssinia. I like the property taxes. I like the view. That doesn't exist. You leave your people. You're leaving. You're abandoning your people. You are giving up your citizenship when you leave. So for them to leave Mecca to Abyssinia, and then later to leave Mecca to Medina, was a humongous deal. And the messenger himself, upon whom be peace, said, he turned to Mecca as he was leaving. He said, if your people had not kicked me out or expelled me, I wouldn't have left. Even the messenger, even though it was a command from God. Nevertheless. So she was getting ready, and he passes by, I think, on his horse. Ilain, Ya Abdullah, where are you going? And she just lashed out at him. You know what? If you won't let us worship Allah, let us leave. Leave us alone. And he felt bad because he was one who would torture somebody until he got tired. One time he was torturing somebody. He said, Wallahi, I'm only stopping because I'm tired. And if I wasn't tired, I wouldn't stop torturing you. That's how bad he was. He felt bad and he said, Sahabat salama. May you go in peace. And then he leaves. And she was shocked. Her husband came back and said, anybody see you? Omar, oh my God, what happened? He's freaking out. He said, no, you don't understand. He said, Sahabatki salama. He said, go in peace. And her husband's like, do you have hope that he's going to become Muslim? He's like, yeah. This is what her husband said. He said, Wallahi, لحمار الخطاب ينطق بالشهادة قبل عمر. Wallahi, his dad's donkey will say the shahada before he will. That is Umar ibn Al Khattab. He's the same like some of these anti-Islamic polemicists now, who like I can't even imagine that one day they would convert to Islam. That's Umar radiallahu anhu. Soon after this, Umar one day woke up and he saw the division in society, family against each other, people leaving, and he's like, you know what, man, I'm done. I'm taking care of this guy, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and end this once and for all. Grabs his sword, puts it on his neck, and he's walking. So when someone notices Umar has a sword on his neck and walking with purpose, something's up. So I think his name was Nu'aym ibn Abdullah. He was a secret Muslim. He's walking, and he sees him. He's like, oh my God, something's up. Where are you going? I'm going to take care of this problem once and for all. I can't take it. He's split the Mecca, the community. He split the tribe. I don't like this anymore. And he's like, oh my God. And do you think Banu Abd Manaf, his Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's tribe, will leave you living afterwards? Like, even if they kill me, I don't care. I was like, okay. So he's like, well, take care of your own house first. What do you mean? Your sister, Fatima, and her husband became Muslim. He had to divulge that secret. They were secret because he wants to warn the Messenger. What? Now he's enraged. He stops and he goes to his sister's house. Khabbab ibn al-Arat, who was teaching them Surah Taha. And he kind of heard what the rustling, and then they hear, boom, boom, open up! He's furious. And so they hide the Quran. Khabbab ibn al-Arat hides. Khabbab was nothing. He was a little scared. He'll break him in half. And they walk in. Did I hear you became Muslim? And he fell on her husband, Sa'id ibn Zayd, and started beating him up. And then she went to defend her husband, and he turned around and slapped her on the face, knocking her down and causing her to bleed. And she said, yes, we have become Muslim. Do what you want with us. Now, when he stopped and saw his sister bleeding, he calmed down. And he says, where was this thing that you were reading? And she told him, you are dirty by dint of your idolatry, and I don't trust you with the word of God. Go wash. So he went. And he washed up. He sat down and he read Taha. ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى, all the verses, until he read إنني أنا الله لا إله إلا أنا فاعبدني وأقم الصلاة لذكري. Indeed, I am God. There is no God before me. And establish prayer for my remembrance. And he said, what wonderful words are these? Where is Muhammad? Khabbab now comes out. He says, I'll take you to him. So now they go. They were in Dar al-Arqam. One of the young Sahaba, he has a very big house. His name was Al-Arqam, Ibn Al-Arqam. So they were there. Now again, Umar is still, no one knows. So now is Umar with sword around his neck at the door. Someone looks in the window and he's like, it's Umar with a sword. And they're scared. Just before this happened, I read in the 6th year of the ministry of the Prophet, Hamza had just become Muslim. Hamza, his uncle. So Hamza was there. He's like, let him come in. If he has good, we'll have good. If he has bad, I'll kill him with his own sword. Hamza was awesome. He comes in to the house. The Prophet himself goes, grabs him, shakes him, and says, أَمَا أَنَا لَكَ يَا ابْنَ الْخَطَّابِ أَن تُسْلِمْ حَتَّى تَنْزِلَ بِكَ قَارِعًا. When are you waiting for a calamity to befall above you, Umar, before you accept Islam? And then he fell to his knees. I remember reading, it says, أَشْهَدُ أَن لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَأَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا رَسُولُ. And the Prophet was overjoyed. And all the believers, they said, Allahu Akbar, so loudly that everyone heard it. And what something happened. What happened? Then Umar immediately he went. First place he went to was his uncle Abu Jahl. Knocked on his door. Did you hear? What? He's like, welcome, nephew. How are you? Uncle, did you hear? Hear what? The news? What news? That now I declare La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. And he said, قبحك اللهم, may Allah may curse you. And he slammed the door in his face. And he went to the Kaaba. And he's like, okay, who among the Quraysh is the worst at keeping a secret? He says, this person. So he went to the person. Did you hear the news? What news? That now I declare that La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Oh my God! He ran. He went all over Mecca. Omar converted. Omar converted. And they were beating each other up all day. His son Abdullah told the whole story. And that day literally changed the course of history, because it was under the tutelage of Umar anhu that the Muslim empire expanded to, like, I mean, it's continued the expansion. Because Abu Bakr just did Arabian Peninsula. Under Umar anhu, we went east and west. And he started the mail system. He's the one that did the Islamic calendar. You name it. And then, of course, Uthman and. But still, that day, the person where they said that the donkey of his dad will say the Shahada before he will, that day changed literally the course of human history. What does that mean for us? That means that as much as I want no Muslim, nobody, but especially no believer, to fall into the kaba'ir al-ithma wal-fawahish, as much as I want that for everybody and myself, number one, primary, we are never, ever shackled by the burdens of our sins. That somebody who everybody else gave up on, we should never give up on. Ourselves, number one and primary. Whatever, we're in the thick of it, we should never give up on ourselves. Never despair. La tayasu, going back to what Jacob told his sons. وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ. Do not despair from the soothing mercy of God. The soothing mercy of Allah. قُلْ يَا عِبَادِ, another verse, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِي الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ, thank you, لَا تَقْنَطُوا مِنْ رَحْمَةِ اللَّهِ. Oh, those who have transgressed against their own souls, don't despair of the mercy of Allah. Don't despair. We don't give up on yourself, number one. And we should never give up on anybody else. We don't know. And any kind of interaction we have with somebody, who knows, will plant that seed that later will blossom into a plant of belief. We don't know. It doesn't matter to us. We talked about, I think his name was Umar ibn Al Khattab. He was the guide of the Prophet to Medina. He later converted. He was captured and murdered. When they threw the spear, he said, "Fustu wa Rabb al-Kaaba." By the Lord of the Kaaba, I have won. His murderer was shocked. What do you mean you won? What does that mean? He kept asking, and he became Muslim. His murderer. The seed doesn't matter. Whatever interaction that we have with people should be a positive one. Our own families too, and those around us, and our neighbors, and our coworkers, and everybody else should be positive, so that every time the light of belief shows through. Because like it or not, if we're the only interaction of a Muslim with another person, and it's a bad one, you know what they're gonna say? Yeah, man, all Muslims are crooks. That is human nature. It's not right. But we do it all the time ourselves, and people do it all the time to us. All the time. You just see someone, yeah, I saw that on the news, yeah. They're all like that. We do it every day. We have to be careful. So but that point is, the mercy of God is always there. Always there. And we should not let Shaitan fool us into thinking that our sin is bigger than God. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم من كل ذنب عظيم. توبوا إلى الله إن الله يحب التوابين ويحب المتطهرين واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Alhamdulillah. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن والاه. أما بعد, all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all peace and blessings be upon the Messenger, upon whom be peace, and all of his companions and family, and all the Muslims everywhere. Ameen. So it's never too late, and we can't let shaitan make us think that what we did is bigger than God's mercy. Ever, 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 ever. In fact, life is battle, right? We're in war with shaitan and our nafs. We're in war, and the nafs is relentless, non-stop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, non-stop. And shaitan, non-stop. He told Allah in the hadith, I think we talked about it, بعزتك يا رب لا أزال أغوي عبادك ما دامت أرواحهم في أجسادهم. He told Allah that in the hadith. By your might, O Lord, I will not stop trying to dissuade them so long as their souls are in their bodies. He said that non-stop. Alone, we're no match. For that kind of relentless onslaught, alone, on our own, no match. We're no match. With Allah, we're invincible. Allah himself told that to Shaitan in the Quran. Inna ibadi laysa laka alayhim sultan. My servants, you don't have any power over them. He said, I'm taking him down. He told them, since you thwarted me, Allah, look at this. Look what Shaitan said. Shaitan doubled down on his mistake and his arrogance. Then he says, because you thwarted me, Allah, I'm going to take them down, and you will find most of them will be ungrateful. You will find that. What is Allah's response? Inna ibadi laysa laka alayhim sultan. My servants, you have no power over them. With God, we're invincible. So there's a battle. And there are some people who utter Allahu Akbar in battle, quote unquote battle, which is nothing more than murder and savagery. And they claim Allahu Akbar before they commit murder and do savagery. The battle cry is Allahu Akbar. Do you know what it is? Allahu Akbar than everything else. God is greater than any sin we can make, we could commit. God is greater than any mistake that I can make. God is greater than any fault that I have. God is greater than anything else. When we stand in prayer, when we put our hands behind, we're throwing the world behind us and saying, God is the greatest. God is greater than everything. Everything that I'm going through, God is greater. My struggles that I'm struggling with, God is greater. The sins that I'm committing, God is greater. God is greater. That's the battle cry. It's not the battle cry of murder. It's the battle cry of the battle we have between shaitan and ourselves. And nothing is bigger than the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing. Zero. Nothing we could ever have done is bigger than God's. I've harped on this a million times because God harps on it a million times in the Quran. Because what shaitan wants us to do is make us think, yeah, you're incorrigible. You're hopeless. There is no hopelessness when it comes to our sin, when it comes to our faults. That every day is a new chance. Just like the ocean is not the same every day. One of the things I love about the ocean, it's never the same. Every day it's a different ocean. The tide and the current, and every day we wake up, it's a new chance. It's a new chance by Allah. A new chance to fix our faults and to come closer, to answer the call. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, all of you who believe, istajibu lillahi wa lirrasul idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. Answer the call of God and His Messenger when they call you to what gives you life. This path that we're on is life-giving. And Allah has been calling us from day one, from the moment we were born. He's calling us. So the answer is, do we listen to the call? Do we heed the call? And the beauty is, we've talked about this before, you take one step to Allah Azza wa Jal, one step to God, He takes 2 steps to you. You come within an arm's length to God, He comes to you even longer. When you come to God walking, He comes to you running. You don't even have to go. He meets you more than halfway. So that's the hope. And so we cannot fall into that trap. Allahu Akbar. God is indeed greater than anything that we're struggling with. Our own weaknesses, our own faults, our own things, the internal Hisham that no one else sees. God is bigger than that. And all I have to do is reach out and God will be there with me, and He'll take me along back to Him, inshallah. So I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us the strength to rise above our weaknesses as human beings, to be the best believers possible. Ya Allah, Anta al-Akbar, you are the greatest, bigger than anything. Ya Allah, whatever we struggle with, help us to overcome those struggles. Ya Allah, make us the best believers possible. Ya Allah, make us among those, when we are seen, you are remembered. Ya Allah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. اللهم ربنا أجرنا من النار يا عزيز ويا غفار، وادخلنا الفردوس الأعلى واحشرنا مع النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم واستغفروه يغفر لكم وأقم الصلاة.